Hi folks, this is Jay. We're visiting the garden by Tom and Darcie in Pendleton, New York. I'm with the gardener here. Tom, can you say a quick hi to us?
Hello everybody, welcome to our garden.
Yeah, can we join you for a walk in the garden with you?
Sure can.
This garden is featured on Open Gardens by Garden Spot for Niagara. So I saw you have the garden tour sign. Did you ever receive any by the sign?
Yes, actually a couple people offered cryptocurrency. And somebody offered a credit card, and somebody did leave a quarter one day.
A quarter?
I told them it was just a joke. My dad always said, you want a garden tour, charge a nickel.
We're visiting this garden in mid-October, but the garden is still in a tremendous shape, still going strong.
The Quanzon cherry actually has beautiful orange color in the fall.
Right.
And in the spring it has a double blossom of pink fluffy. Last year, the whole lawn here was covered in pink because the blossoms were so much heavier than other years.
Yeah, so your garden is a four-season garden. So every season you have a lot of interest in the garden, the color and texture.
Yeah, even in the winter, the boxwoods, when all the perennials are cut down, the boxwoods will have a dusting of snow. I made sure I planted a lot of evergreens and also shrubs that have interesting bark and foliage, but then the trees for the height.
Yes, you do have a very nice collection of specimen trees. So the one right in front of us, this is a
dogwood.
Dogwood.
It has a white flower in the spring, and the flowers come out before the leaves. In the fall, it's pretty berries, and it gets some nice color on the leaves. It's a very busy road, and so it gives us privacy from the road.
Right.
So we have hydrangeas and junipers and viburnums, and a lot of perennials too. And then we have a paperbark maple that gets the red. The leaves are going to be really brilliant red, and the bark, when it comes down, the bark, sun shines through the bark, is real reddish, and it peels, so it has four-season interest again.
Yeah, what do you have right next to the paperbark?
That's black lace elderberry.
Yeah, but it's the size of a Japanese maple.
Yeah. I didn't trim it. I didn't trim it last year. Other years I've trimmed it. This year I just let it go, but it does get pretty, real pale pink clusters of flower, kind of like a lace cap, real flat.
Some people use this type of elderberry in place of Japanese maple, where the sun condition is not suitable for Japanese maple. Elderberry, they can take more sun. What's the name of the?
It's a red bud. It's hearts of gold. When it comes out after the flowers and leaves come out, it's yellow. It's kind of yellowy green, and as the leaves mature, they go to green. So it's a good, nice specimen tree. Doesn't get too big. Again, it won't take wind, so it's on this side of the house to be sheltered from the wind.
We're looking at the side yard, and you have a lavender garden here.
Yes. This is where our sand filter is for our septic system. I can't plant anything out here, so what I did was I planted it with lavender.
With the very shallow roots.
Yeah, they're shallow rooted, so they don't get down into the sand filter.
So you have the purple from the lavender, but you also have an urn in the lavender color.
So I put the yellow in, so you have the yellow and the purple for a little
contrast,
yeah.
So I would say this is a very good design example that you use the urn to not only add height, but you also introduce the color and also the texture.
Yeah.
And you keep the color palette simple, just the purple and the yellow, the contrasting color. So you have this very, very strong visual impact.
And we can see it from the side of the house, so we can look out here and have something to see. This was all wide open when we moved in.
Right.
So that's why I put the trees in to give us some privacy from the road, but also I thought it would help reduce the noise from all the traffic.
Yeah, so now we are walking towards the backyard.
Yeah.
We see the arbor, and so this is such a beautiful long view.
Yes. There's several long views in the garden. It's something, I read Gardens Illustrated and English Gardener, and something that they do. So this arbor was the second one I built and planted the trees and shrubs around it. So I did it to create some privacy.
And it also gives you a sense of entry. You're officially entering the backyard.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at the backyard. This area used to be a vegetable patch.
Yes, we don't get enough sun, and the cottonwood and the river birch suck up too much moisture. We're kind of recreating it.
Yeah.
So it has a lilac and peonies, some snapdragons, zinnias.
Yeah, the zinnias, they retain their color very well.
Yes.
Yeah, and they keep flowering as you have new buds coming up.
Yeah.
Yes. I like zinnia. Did you?
Yeah, they're one of my favorites.
So can we take a look at the trees next to your deck?
This is a Samaritan dogwood.
So this is a different variety of dogwood.
When the leaves come out, then the little stem comes with the flower, and the flower is the same color as the white on the edge of the leaves.
Yeah.
And then it turns to the fruit that looks like little strawberries. They say you can make jam out of it, but you got to use a lot of sugar. Yeah. And it has some interesting bark on the trunk. The reason I have it here, it's windy back here on the west side of the house now. It can take the winds to minus 30.
Wow.
I couldn't plant one of these. I can't plant the other dogwoods back here. It's too windy.
Yeah. So this is more hardy.
Yeah, this one's hardier. Japanese anemone.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
It's a beautiful fall flower, makes a great arrangement.
It's also called the winged flower because it moves with the wind. It's beautiful. And they do get tall. This is more than 6 feet, right? Yeah.
So it's probably about 6'2", somewhere around there.
Yeah. So you have a tree man here.
Yeah. It's really pretty when it's the trees when there's rain, because the moss on the tree is almost same as the green guy. Yeah. And this is the first arbor I built.
Yeah. So how many arbor do you have?
I have 5. So I thought about naming the garden 5 arbors in a garden. One of the visitors said, well, you only had 4 last year, maybe next year you have 5 now, and then maybe you have 6. Here, once we come through, this is our new part.
Right. So you use this area for the spring flower, the daffodil, and so you allow them to die back in the summer, and you don't mow this area except this path.
Yeah, the path, and I mow around the outside of it, out by the road, so it looks neat. It's an architectural feature. I know some people do in England, they do it a lot. They leave some areas high to give, instead of just a wide expansive lawn, then you have something else, something different to look at. And so now this is our tree boulder and shrub garden. So again, I don't want all the mowing, but I mow around the perimeter so we have paths to walk.
So the tall grass we see is the same grass as the lawn, right? You just don't mow them.
Yeah, I just don't mow it and it kind of grows. And there's some grasses that are stronger than the others, so there are some standing up, have longer blades, have some seed heads on them. I built a mound and added the boulders, added the trees and shrubs.
Yeah, this is very interesting because, I mean, I don't see gardeners do this very often, keep the grass tall and use the grass as in a different texture in the garden.
Yeah, I'm hoping someday that when the stuff gets bigger, it will be more like a little wooded area.
So this is another cherry, but I see something very very unusual here. You're hanging a rock.
Yeah.
Here, what's the purpose of the rock?
I saw this in some magazine a long time ago that in Japan, to get a branch to come down, a lot of times here people will put a rope on it and put a stake on the ground, but the branch can't move.
Right.
So by putting the rock, using wire in a rock, when the wind blows, it can still move without stressing the crotch of the tree branch. So I actually had 2 on here originally, and I have another one over here, but yeah, it just helps keep the branch down because it was too vertical when I got it. Right. So it helps to put it out a little horizontal.
This is such a good idea. You're using just a rock to help you trim the tree.
Yeah. It's also a conversation starter. I have different people come and say, what's with the rocks in the tree? So you learn something new.
So you have a book in the garden. Tell me a little bit about this book.
We saw a stone slab in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that it's about gardening. We couldn't find it anywhere. We found the poem online, but we couldn't find where you could get one. And a friend of ours who used to do the garden tours with us, she said, if you make a board, I have a machine and I can do the lettering stuff. So I took a couple pieces of plywood, glued and screwed them, and then roughed up the edges and put a groove in the middle so it looked like a book. Painted it gray, and then she made it for us, and it was really nice, and probably was worth a lot of money for what she did.
I know.
She was happy with a bottle of wine. So they're good garden friends of ours. And I got 2 river birches on either side here as we enter the Wildflower garden.
It's beautiful. The river birch, they're just one of the not many mid-sized trees that give you this movement and also the dappled light. Yeah. They also provide peeling bark, which is very unique. Yeah.
They're good because they get the catkins are also good for early spring for birds. They'll eat the seeds. And this one we have privet hedge in the arbor, so it kind of separates the Wildflower garden because you'll see here it's pretty wild.
This is at the far corner of your property,
yeah, correct.
Right next to a field. So use this wildflower as a transition from a more cultivated garden to the field area. So this is the buffalo grass.
Yeah, this is the buffalo grass, the red. We have a lot of other grasses growing in here that weren't supposed to be, but it's just part of nature.
So you mentioned a very interesting concept to make the garden.
Rewilding.
Rewilding,
Rewilding,
yes.
I've read in a couple magazines that there's areas of rewilding rather than keeping the garden completely manicured and the fertilizers and everything. This part I actually designed hopefully to help the bees and the butterflies.
Right.
And then I added an urn just for some architectural interest in the garden.
Yes.
We can see it a little bit from the house in the wintertime.
It just adds color, height, and texture. And you use some of the succulent here, right?
Yep, we use the succulents because I don't have to come out and water them.
Exactly.
I water them a couple times. It's a long way with a watering can. But what I do is I leave all this up for the winter. Late March, I'll come out with hand shears and just hack it all down and then rake it up and get rid of that. In wildflower gardens.
Yeah, and by leaving those, you provide habitat for some of the critters and also the insects. Some of the insects, they need some of the so-called litters in the garden to have their full life cycle.
Yeah.
And you have a big apple tree.
Yes, we inherited this. I have no idea what it is. They're very sweet, but it really needs to be pruned because we get better apples. So that part I just don't mow. Actually, usually when I deadhead, that's where I throw everything. So we're slowly getting like black-eyed Susan, coneflower is starting to come up. Some other field plants are taking over, Queen Anne's lace. And what I do is just mow paths through here so I can walk through, but I leave the rest tall. So we actually are starting to get milkweed coming in, native plants.
That's beautiful. So you have this very nice transition.
Then we have a wee shed. Because it's a busy road, we sit on the front patio and have a glass of wine, read a book on a Sunday. The traffic started dozing off, and so I got a wee shed, and I drywalled it so I could pick pictures in there of our old garden and some of the paintings I did. And so we can come out and it's quiet. So there's pictures in here.
It's very nice, very cozy.
And I put a fan in because it's cool today, but sometimes it's pretty warm in here. So it's nice, it's away from the road. And when we first did, if you look out the window, when I'd sit on the couch and look out the window, I could see the garage next door. I could see the people's house across the street. Now I've got enough stuff growing, we have privacy back here.
You designed the garden for the view from inside of your house,
Correct.
Right? So every window in your house, you can see different area of the garden.
Yes. And I got a swing. Darcie asked me one year, what do you want for Christmas? I said, I want a swing. Why? I said, it'll be fun. Well, she went online, and when you put swing on there, some weird swinger stuff started coming up. So she said, you can't believe what. So she finally found it. And when I finally got it up, she sat on it, and I pushed her, and I ran under her and pushed her up in the air. And she laughed, and I said, now see, isn't that fun? Don't you feel like a kid? And so every time somebody comes here, they go on it. Now this is actually our first sitting area. Planted all the trees and shrubs in this area because it was so windy, but this is a nice place. At the end of the day, come out and have a glass of wine when it's hot out. Sit out here and have a glass of wine because it's usually a nice breeze and it's shaded.
Yeah, it's nice to have the shade in the summer.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Even had one of our garden visitors this year. She came out with her mom and dad, and the guy was sitting on the bench, but he wasn't moving, and I was going to go check on him, thinking, I hope not something didn't. It was her dad, he fell asleep. Now we put the chairs away in the wintertime, but I still leave out the purple bench and the blue table and the rock. So we still have something to look at out here.
So again, we're visiting the garden by Tom and Darcie. This garden appeared on Open Gardens, Western New York by Gardens Buffalo Niagara. Well, thank you, Tom, for sharing your garden with us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you coming out. I hope everybody gets some good tips.